So, Emanuele, you contacted us because you wanted to talk in the ECF staff room about how you, collaboratively with other ECTs and new teachers in your current school, have been attempting to raise LGBTQ plus inclusivity in the classroom and in the extended culture, perhaps. So maybe you can start by saying to us what you mean by inclusivity with LGBTQ plus and why it matters so much.
I think that it's a primary role for educators to actively embody and promote the values of mutual respect and tolerance, as well as denounce any type of discrimination, notwithstanding faiths and beliefs. And it's not even circumscribed to a sheer pronoun per personal preference. I think it entails legal and cultural expectations as well, and modeling nowadays society in a safe environment and contributing to an inclusive pedagogy. This is set out also in part of the teacher standards. And schools should be an inclusive environment for all. You know, we have, for example, notable acceptance and care targeted students with SEND, EAL, but tolerance towards gender and sexual orientation diversity is equally important. And for example, what we could do is initiating classroom talks regarding gender inclusive language. And I think that in the context of modern foreign languages, we have a privileged stance because what we aim to do in our subject is we try to value diversity, and this is a very prominent aspect of our subject. Yeah.
That's really interesting about what you say about modern foreign languages. Now, if I can just ask you to think about schools in general, what do you think they could do to improve the experience of LGBTQ plus students in their schools?
I believe we should be able to promote more representation, which then tends to lead to normalization in the curriculum. I think representation is just an easy way to promote it, because you're trying to normalize something that is out there in the society, but you're doing it in a subtle way by integrating it in the subjects and in the context, in the topics that we're trying to teach.
That's really interesting, and I've often thought about that as an English teacher in terms of the books we choose and the characters that students relate to. You know, I've spoken to friends in the past that said, for example, if there was a gay character in a book I'd read when I was a child, that would have made me feel like the culture was much more inclusive. So I think it is about the choices we make at curriculum level. So thinking about ECTs as well, I guess, when they're planning their curriculums, is there anything you'd say to them in terms of representation?
I would obviously do my research like I have, or even talk to other experienced teacher or newly sort of qualified teachers, ECTs, because we have, like, I'm sure that in every school there is someone that is passionate about this, and I think it is important to represent these individuals in the curriculum, because it raises issues, it raises always questions, and that's fine. I mean, for example, it's easy tricks. I mean, I can obviously talk about French, because that was the language that is the language I've been teaching, and the subject is modern foreign languages. I mean, even reading comprehension tasks, if you think about it, my parents. What about if we change it to my two moms or my dads? And then the students will ask, because this has happened to me actually. I say, oh, sir, it says my two moms. Yeah, it says my two moms. That's it. That's the answer. So, for example, like, who are Sophie's parents, as I said, and then they say, oh, okay, and then we move on. But again, it's about that normalization of the diversity. Yeah, so it's really integrated in the curriculum. Yeah.
That's a great example. It's really interesting how those small tweaks that you're describing that you use in your modern foreign languages classroom can really make a big difference. And it's interesting that you said within any school. And I think this is the case for all schools, really. There are a number of people that are passionate about inclusivity, but that number isn't enough. And I think what I'm hearing is that every teacher should be passionate about that, and that should be at the forefront of every ECT's mind when they're planning their curriculum, whether they're a modern foreign languages teacher thinking about that, or an English teacher thinking about the text they're choosing, or a maths teacher thinking about the examples that they write, it's almost quite empowering to think as teachers we have the capacity to make a big difference in students' lives through the language we use and the examples we give in terms of making them feel more included. And I think that's a really empowering message that you're bringing today.
It's all about the language, and it's about the awareness of the language that we use. That's how I see it. Yeah.
And do you think teachers in school need more training on that?
I generally do. Yeah, I think that we should focus some of our CPDs, for example, after half term, in talking about gender inclusive language, or sort of like tackling homophobic and transphobic comments. I do think that schools require that. Yeah, it should be more pushed, because it's, at the end of the day, it's part of the Equality Act 2010, it's part of the Inspections Act 2006. So we have a lot of legal documents that promote it. So we as schools should really do, should really like empower these teachers to represent LGBTQ plus inclusivity. Yeah.